First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
In studio right now is the county executive. By the way, we should clarify this. I left a Diet Pepsi down in that refrigerator. Stolen.
Get out of here.
Yep, gone. So I only have $1 on me. So now, right on TV, people have seen the county executive pay me off.
Are you kidding me?
He gave me the $1 I needed.
He needed a dollar.
I just want to be clear. It's a loan.
Did you have to threaten him to get that? Or?
There was no threat. Yeah. All right. So we have a lot to unfold here.
Sure. Tony, let me borrow $1 or I'll ruin you.
Oh, I see where you're going with that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Andrew, what do we have? Tell me what's going on.
Well, Cordelia was going to call back tomorrow, but Scott was calling about something different. But while we have Tony, was going to ask something about Medicaid.
Okay. All right. I'll get to him in a second. All right. Let's start with we've talked about the mask thing, and I really feel like we're to the point where if this is what it takes to get kids in school, we can all agree, right? If this is what it takes.
There really is, I mean, this is what it takes, but it also, I heard, as I came in, you were talking, but, there is alternative to get us past this in the months and
get the vaccine.
Weeks to come is get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Get the vaccine. Get the vaccine. Parents.
And you're hearing people who were against the vaccine with children, with themselves, with relatives in ICU, in the hospital that are now coming out and saying I was wrong. If you don't listen to anybody else, listen to them.
And listen to them, but also listen. And I can also tell you about people throughout this process that, even before the vaccine, that weren't wearing masks and said that's not necessary. And then, and it's, the hoax thing and everything else. And it's a cold, it's a flu, it's whatever. And you're going to get it anyway. And same story there. I know personally, distant family and connected family of people who died, who got seriously ill because they took it as, before the vaccine. Now we have the vaccine, and we've been saying that all along, and we'll continue to say it. If that's there is a path to. Normalcy is going to take a while. I mean, but there is a path here, and it showed over the last few months.
Yep.
The variant is the other piece that we have to work through, and hopefully there's the one behind it, but there is a path.
What I don't understand is the person that I know a perfect example here. She is against the vaccination because there is a 1 in 1, whatever the number is, a 1 in a million chance or whatever it is, chance that her child could have a complication. Which there are complications with vaccines. In other vaccines, there are complications.
There's a child given the vaccine.
So for the child to get a vaccine, she's against all vaccines.
Oh, all vaccines. Well,
so okay, now, but she's against the mask, where there is a remote chance that your child could get sick, and maybe it's a 1 in a million. I don't know what it is, what the number is. So sick that they could end up passing away. So why are you against the vaccine, which could get your kid sick, but the mask that might prevent your kid from getting sick, you're against that too? It doesn't. You're contradicting your theories.
And I do think again, kids are resilient. I don't think I think we're not giving them enough credit.
I agree.
This, despite whatever age. And the other point is that the schools have been making adjustments. In air circulation and other pieces that will alleviate some of this. But look, this is where we are, and you have to really start to decide what to do. And if you don't, and here's the other problem, the ripple effect that happens, when you have a breakout. Look at Atlanta, no masks in that particular district, had to close down. What happens when you close down a school system or a specific district? Well, all of that goes into quarantine and everything else, but now you've got employment issues because you got parents who can't watch kids who can't
back to the same stuff,
and then it has another effect. So let's get to this the right way.
So let's just get through this, right? Let's try to get through this.
It sucks and nobody wants to do it. I mean, that's the bottom line. But I don't. This is kind of a painless way to go for now. Nobody wants to do this, but we're trying to get through this. And again, the idea with the school board situation that people would be upset with the school board for putting in safety measures to protect your children.
And by the way, one of those members is a well accomplished physician who deals. He's a pediatrician. He deals with children. So at some point, we got to trust the experts here. Scott in Kirkville, what's your question for the county executive, Scott?
Yeah, first of all, I always enjoy your time on there. I always look forward to when because I think you talk and your explanations are easy to understand. I don't know. I'm dealing with a loved one with Medicaid, and I don't know, Tony, if you guys actually looked at the actual application now, of what the questions are asked. And I'm dealing with somebody that's got Parkinson's and dementia, and so I'm basically have to kind of look for stuff that Medicaid is asking for, which to me, if I actually was applying for NASA, probably this application is tougher. They want to know more information, U.S. citizen. I have to open up a revocable trust so I can save money for her funeral, and they want a valid ID to prove that she's not a terrorist. And to me, she's 86 years old, and I'm seeing people crossing the border without any identification, and I'm being asked to go find something that she might have somewhere because she hasn't driven in 20 years. But just kind of wondering if you've seen the application, the questions they're asking, and to me, it's tough. And I couldn't believe somebody who has got dementia could fill this thing out because I'm having enough trouble filling it out.
Well, and that's why we have, we do have, assistance available. I mean, I have seen, I do know the application for Medicaid it's like an inch thick. It is pretty. Look, Scott, all I would say is, call my office, get us your information. We'll hook somebody up with you.
Well, I agree, Tony, but I'm just saying that, for example, they asked me to find death certificates of her parents, which were
we can deal with those things. 1973. We can actually deal with those
call. I'm just saying that the questions are being asked because I basically have done it, but what got me was a revocable trust. I got to find a valid ID because to prove that she's not a terrorist, and I'm seeing everything in the world where everybody just wants to vote without identification, and I just to me, I think maybe these applications be looked at and just see, maybe make it a little easier.
Right.
Okay.
And Scott, by the way, you've covered every political topic in this conversation that there is out there, right down to voter ID. So, all right, Scott, thank you. If you have further issues,
call my office.
Call his office, okay? All right. Thank you, man. Scott, you going to end with a rim shot with him?
I was thinking about it.
Come on.
It was
he's very impassioned today. Passionate today is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So we've talked about the mask. Will you issue a mandate to? Someone said to me today, who was at the Whitesboro meeting, Tony needs to step up and help these schools so that the county takes the responsibility for the masks and not every board of education, because it's turning into every school's going to deal with what Whitesboro just went through.
And we've been talking, and
Onondaga, I think, just did that, right?
Yeah, and we will do that. And part of that was